Welcome back to Dogma Debate. I'm super excited about this. I once talked to Robert Price about Trump. What was it? 3 or 4 months ago, maybe, right? We had a phone call, and you told me all about your views on Trump, and I was shocked because atheists tend not to support him. So hi, Alex. Welcome back to the show.
Hi.
I'm open to it. I've said after the events that unfolded today, I am officially an undecided voter.
Really?
I am so pissed off and disenfranchised with the Democratic Party. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to decide, and I'm going to tell people how I feel. But I'm an undecided voter right now.
Do you know what the update is? Of course, Debbie Wasserman Schultz said she was stepping down. She's going to resign after.
Yeah.
And are you aware that Hillary has appointed her to her campaign now as well?
You're kidding me.
Not kidding. Not kidding. I was walking in and reading the article. I was like, no.
Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. Well, look, I'm open. Now is a good time as any, Robert. I'm open for it. I mean, look, on the short list here, Trump is a birther. He's anti-choice. He's been married 3 times. 4 of his companies filed bankruptcy. He believes vaccines cause autism. PolitiFact has 72% of his statements as either half-true, false, mostly true, or blatant lies, or completely false. Politics USA says that 91% of the claims he makes are false. It's hard for me to get behind someone with that kind of record, but I'm open to evidence. Dr. Robert Price, please take it away. What is your argument for why we should support Trump?
On the one hand, there is the nightmare of what would happen if Hillary became, by the way, that was a genuine Freudian slip, if she should become president. Obama's administration is unmatched in its corruption, its lawlessness, and its deception of the public, its opportunistic use of the IRS and the Justice Department, and that is nothing compared to what Hillary is liable to do based on her sorry record with the Clinton Foundation, the travesty of her as a Secretary of State, her constant pathological lying. If I asked her what time it was, I wouldn't believe the answer. If I asked her what her name was, there'd be something dishonest about it. It's inconceivable to me that anyone in their right mind could imagine voting for her and for the America parody she would bring about. I don't mean to insult anybody. I know it sounds insulting, but I truly cannot understand. I am truly baffled how anybody is in her corner. Now, on the other hand, I don't just think anybody but Hillary, so Trump's the nominee, well, what the heck, okay. No, I think he has a grasp on the dire seriousness of the challenges the United States and Western civilization face. He doesn't go far enough for me in terms of combating Islamic terrorism and American domestic lawlessness, the war on police, etc. It seems to me that here is somebody that has the guts to not fiddle while Rome burns. He is willing to admit that things are not right. I mean, here's Obama saying, "Oh well, just look outside. The birds are chirping and the sun is up." And then, practically simultaneously, we have one of these shooting sprees in a mall in Germany. It's like this ridiculous movie I saw when I was a little kid called 13 Ghosts. These poor saps move into a house they inherit that was run by a kind of ghostbuster guy, and various ghosts he collected began to manifest themselves, and the woman, who's like a sitcom housewife, is preparing dinner in the kitchen, and suddenly a meat axe solidifies out of thin air and buries itself in the kitchen wall right next to her head. Well, she's hysterical. Her idiot husband comes in, and she's screaming about what happened, and his response, things will calm down. Well, that's Obama and that's Hillary.
Okay,
we have terrible unemployment. We have a wrecked economy. Foreign policy is in a shambles on several fronts. And these guys say, isn't it great? Happy days are here again. Like that, if I have cancer and I go to the doctor and he says, really, you're okay. Well, I'd rather hear that verdict. But if it's not true, I'd rather hear the painful truth so I can do something about it. And for these people, they just say this is, to use the cliche, the new normal. And it's only going to get worse, especially if they're in office, Clinton or cronies, pouring gasoline on the fire. I just see no grounds for hesitating between the two of them.
Okay, now hold on. Now, first of all, I have not been a Hillary supporter, so I'm not necessarily disagreeing with some of the things you've said there. But as far as the economy, I think what they're comparing it to is during the Bush administration, how things were in 2007. And how things are now. The economy has grown considerably. Jobs have grown considerably.
I don't believe that's true.
The crime rate is that...
Look at the huge number of people that dropped out of the labor force. Look at the people who can only get a, quote, job, unquote, at McDonald's. It's just smoke and mirrors.
But even the Dow is approaching record highs, like 20,000. It might actually close at 20,000. This is unfathomable 8 years ago.
But this doesn't trickle down to the common people who are working 3 jobs, etc. This may be good for Hillary's buddies at Goldman Sachs.
All right,
but it's not. This isn't the real economy of real people who've seen none of that money.
Oh, well, I think a lot of real people have. People who couldn't get jobs. I was one of the people laid off in 2008, and I saw a big boom. I was able to get work again and things like that. That's just anecdotal. But let me ask you, why... So I don't necessarily think Hillary's the most honest person ever either, but why do you think Hillary lies?
Well, just look at what she says. I mean, I once said that all you need. I did a Bill Clinton impression once. Bill Clinton, I did not have. And somebody said, "Oh, you do a good impression of Clinton." I said, "All you have to do a good impression of him is to lie, and it's even worse with his wife." The thing with the Benghazi mess, that she was lying to the country and to the survivors of the men who died there, saying, well, it was some weird videotape. She knew it wasn't, and her emails show that.
Okay,
she continued to lie about her deleted emails about everything.
Robert, that's fine, and I agree with you. She's not the most honest person. In fact, most politicians I've ever seen tend to lie to us, and that's not an excuse.
But she is the most dishonest.
Well, I don't know that. And that's the question.
Sure. They all stink, but this woman reeks.
Well, that's the problem with Trump, and I think a lot of people would push back on that, including me. And I'm going to say, well, hold on. The same people who tell us the fact-checking of Hillary, that she lies about things, these are the same people you're dismissing and saying, well, I don't believe them when they say Donald Trump is lying.
Well, no, it's not because fact checkers say one thing or the other. With Hillary, I hear the things she says and the next version of it and the next, and you can easily tell she's lying. Some of these things are more esoteric, but I mean, Trump may be wrong on some things, but he doesn't seem to me to be lying about it. And even if he is, that's if. Whereas we know this woman is a pathological liar.
What?
The thing with Bosnia, I was fleeing from this fire from the terrorists. No, she wasn't. She was getting a bouquet of flowers from little kids. I mean, everything says is demonstrably and has been demonstrated to be a lie.
I think she has big lies that have resulted in bigger damages, but I think Trump, and he hasn't been in a position to lie and cause lives to be lost.
Well, she has. Which one's a better bet?
Right, I understand. But with him, I mean, 72 to 91% of his statements are rated as
Somebody
false.
says, again, I'd need to look at all of them, which I certainly don't have the time or interest to do. I don't have to do that with Hillary Clinton because it just screams out at you from every news report.
But shouldn't we want to do that? I mean, if we're evaluating,
well, ideally, I mean, but
yeah.
I don't have an opinion on global warming because I don't intend to get a doctorate in it, which I apparently would have to do to be able to say anything intelligent about it. Here you have a kind of a forced choice, as William James says, and it seems to me that Trump is the obvious choice. He might be a disaster, but any fool can see that Hillary is a disaster already.
Okay.
It's going to be more cronyism, more lying. I mean, she's real transparent, right? And it's just disgusting the way she's treated Bernie Sanders. They will do anything, and it seems to me that we've not yet seen that about Trump. I don't think we saw it with Bush. I don't think we saw it with Jimmy Carter. To me, this isn't even a Democrat versus Republican issue. I think Democrats are making a terrible mistake hitching their star to her after the disaster of Obama. It's not. I don't blame Democrats for her. I think they're being silly to go down, make her the captain of the ship, and go down with it.
Well, you're throwing out so much so fast. So I don't necessarily think Obama's been a disaster. I certainly don't think everything he's done.
Come on.
No, I don't. I don't think everything he's done is horrible.
This is appropriate for dogma debate because to me it is very clear that liberalism is a dogma of faith religion, invulnerable to facts. Okay. And no matter what happens, it's a self-sealing premise. If the gun control laws seem to produce more deaths, like in Chicago and Detroit, well, there's got to be some epicycle we can figure in here to explain this. Nothing will ever shake anybody. No matter what Hillary or Obama do. Oh no, they're personal saviors, so they're not going to hear it. It's no different than the fundamentalist side debate.
No, Robert, hold on. So I wasn't saying it was a perfect presidency. I'm certainly not opposed to facts. I'm certainly not opposed to pointing.
I think you are.
No, I'm certainly not opposed to pointing out what Barack Obama has done wrong, things that I disagree with that he's done.
You got a few days?
No, there have been some things he's done, but I wouldn't call the presidency a disaster.
He makes a few good jokes at the Correspondents' Dinner, but everything this guy does, from polarizing the country racially to wrecking the economy with the shovel-ready jobs that weren't shovel-ready, the cash for clunkers, for his incredible foreign policy, leading with your behind and all of that, he's nothing but a disaster, and Hitler has proven she'll be even worse.
I'm waiting to hear why we should vote for Trump. I mean, I know you don't like Obama, so give me some evidence.
He is a successful businessman.
Is he though?
These people in charge of the economy so far have never even run a lemonade stand. He may not be able to salvage the economy, but he's the only one where there's a chance he might. And as for the Muslim problem, we face a situation like Charles Martel faced. We have just a flood of unvettable Muslims from countries taken over by ISIS, and ISIS admits they're sending in infiltrators. But what the heck? Let's have a few more thousand of them. We can't vet them, but let's just hope for the best, like Angela Merkel did foolishly.
Right,
and,
but Robert,
Trump's the only one who wants to do anything about it.
Robert, do you consider yourself a humanist?
In some ways, like in terms of there's no knowledge outside of available outside the human senses.
No, I mean as far as humanism, as far as taking care of other human beings, the human.
Oh yeah, I'd like to save them from getting blown up and shot by Muslim terrorists.
Okay, fine. So
I'd like to save them in the womb so that they don't get killed, so somebody can take a vacation when they want to.
Okay,
to me, the most blood-chilling thing about so-called liberals is their view on abortion. To me, this is like the Holocaust. I used to teach ethics, and I always tried to teach both sides of social issues. I tried to be a good liberal and to be pro-choice, but I finally thought, I cannot come up with an argument that would legitimate abortion that wouldn't simultaneously legitimate infanticide. And then I began to hear pro-abortionists say, well, yeah, infanticide's okay. day. I thought, well, somebody's making the connection.
What
To
are
me,
you
it is
talking
it is
about?
horribly
Whoa.
inhumanist to take the view that abortion is all
Robert.
right, and to say that multiculturalism is more important than human lives. Political correctness is more important than human lives. Making believe that gun control will do anything is more important than human lives. To me, that's people being martyrs and forcing others to be martyrs to politically correct dogmas.
Oh.
If that's humanism, I want nothing to do with it.
No. What liberal has said infanticide is okay?
Oh, I remember once I was at a humanist conference in Boulder, Colorado, somewhere. Colorado, I forget, somewhere in there, Denver, someplace. And we were out to dinner afterward, and somebody brought up, I don't think it was me, that Charles Hartshorne said that, well, infanticide does follow from it. And, of course, he didn't mean like, Moses and Pharaoh and the children of Israel or Hitler and the Jews, but he thought that that really a newborn baby really isn't any different, has no more rights than a fetus, and so for one we ought to be with the other. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, but I've since heard some of the crazy things Peter Singer says. I figure this guy ought to be running a concentration camp.
Wow. Okay. There's a lot to unpack here.
I know this makes me sound like a heretic amid the
No. It's that we may differ on some things, obviously, but saying that liberalism is now a dogma.
Sure it is.
No,
sure
absolutely.
it is.
Well, and you don't think conservatism is?
Many conservatives approach it that way, which is why many
well,
of them
then
feel
many
like
liberals may approach it that way. Okay, then
I don't.
Okay, Robert. Then, with all due respect, let's keep it even on both sides. If there are liberals who take liberalism as a dogma, and there are conservatives who take conservatism as a dogma, let's say there are people who abuse both ideologies. But for you to call only liberalism a dogma and defend conservatism, that in itself is a dogma.
Fundamentalists like moral majoritarians and all that are dogmatists. That even worse, these Christian identity lunatics are dogmatists. I'm trying not to be one. I'm all in favor of gay rights. I'm all in favor. I mean, it's obvious to me that women are at least the equal of men. I don't believe, every traditional thing is the right way to go. I'm trying to call them as I see them, issue by issue, and I just think that the almost universal, at least the ones that speak up, liberal view on many of these issues is extremely dangerous and even anti-humanistic and held despite any evidence.
All right, look, okay, so let's just talk just very quickly, because I want to get to the Trump quotes and why we should support him, but just quickly on abortion. Have you ever seen the documentary After Tiller?
No, never heard of it.
Okay, it's a phenomenal documentary on Netflix. It's about the late-term abortion doctor who was shot, and that there are only like 4 doctors now who will do abortions in the 3rd trimester. Now, at first blanch, I'm telling you, most people go, wow, that is disgusting. Why would you ever want that? But they lay out some very scientific reasons why it should be legal in certain instances, such as horrific bone disorders that the fetus is developing that does not make the fetus viable past 9 months out of the womb, and it's just going to live in pain the entire time.
Oh yeah, I agree that it's legit in a case like that.
So are you? Well, that's pro-choice though, Robert.
That's hasty generalization. The pro-choice kind of certainly seems to me it's represented as any time, any reason. If you start drawing lines and qualifications, they'll say, "Oh no, you're on the slippery slope."
Well, yeah, because of bodily autonomy. If a woman decides,
that's nonsense. What about the coming baby's bodily autonomy? Oh, it's just an appendix. Why would you say that? I mean, that's just a completely circular argument.
So Dr. Bryce, I happen to be, I have a family, it's a mixed family, African American, blah blah blah, American. We hear a lot of what Donald Trump says about, or whatever it's portrayed in the media, and he's portrayed as being somewhat bigoted, a little bit racist, etc.
nonsense. But you're right; they do portray him that way.
If you could pitch why I should vote for Trump, or why African Americans should vote for Trump, what would it be?
Well, for one thing, hopefully he'll improve the economy, especially for young African American men. As he was saying the other night, it's like, well, I don't know if he put it quite this way. Others have, other African American spokesmen. There's this kind of dependence plantation system that the Democrats have. It's the old let's give them fish rather than teach them how to fish, because we want everybody as dependent as possible, hence the fostering of more people on food stamps and welfare and disability. We want to maintain these people as a dependent class. I think if that were stopped, you would have, and the economy was actually grown, then African Americans would be the ones to prosper. I don't see any evidence in anything I've ever heard him say that he's a bigot against any group.
Okay, so I'm just going to read a couple of quotes from Trump, and I want to get your response to those quotes. And because of Alex's question, I'm going to start with this one. In USA Today on May 20th, 1991, Trump said, and I quote, "I have black guys counting my money. I hate it. The only guys I want counting my money are short guys that wear yarmulkes all day."
I have no idea why he says that or what it means. But
does it sound racist to you?
If it's supposed to indicate that I don't like blacks, I like Jews. That was quite a while ago. Those do not appear to be his views now. I'm not quite sure what it means back then.
Okay. In November of 2012, he said, quote, "The concept of global warming was created by and for the Chinese in order to make U.S. manufacturing non-competitive. He's now calling climate change, global warming, a conspiracy created by the Chinese. How do you defend that?"
Well, I don't know if the Chinese had anything to do with it, but I strongly suspect it is kind of a hoax that you hear. If you're open to hearing it, there are occasional reports of people fudging the facts, making conclusions based on no data. Oh, it's getting worse.
No data? What are you talking about? No data? This is one thing.
There's just recently.
You're a scholar. How can you say that?
Well, I don't have the time or the reference material, but there's several people that are climatologists, the co-founder of Greenpeace, various other meteorologists and so on that I've heard speak. I don't remember the names. This is not my hobby, but there's a good reason to believe. There was even this email where this guy said to a fellow climate change advocate that there were ways of fixing the data, doing some tricks, he said, and the suppression of contributions to learned journals on climatology by people that don't believe in it. To me, it's open, and now we've got an administration that says we have to make climate change denial illegal. What on earth? So that makes me think that this is very likely one more political scheme to hand over major decisions to so-called experts rather than elected officials. So I'm very skeptical about it. I don't have I don't know. Ultimately, I'm ready to admit, but something stinks about it.
But if the actual scientists who study it, you think you think we should give more power to making these decisions to elected officials rather than the scientists who actually study the data?
Well, of course, the government officials should be informed by science, but we've had all kinds of ridiculous things before, like the nuclear winter thing that now is granted to have been a mistake, and you kind of wonder if they didn't know it already. The global cooling thing from some years ago. And in fact, on several of these issues, like who is liable to get AIDS, how big is the homeless problem, and various other things have been shown later to be false scare tactics, and some people, some like this Randy Schultz. He admitted it in that case. So it's like they've cried wolf too many times. I find myself agnostic. Like Jacques Ellul says in his book Propaganda, there's no way for the man in the street to make a decision about it. So I partly listen to who's saying this and what they want done about it. And it's tied in with third world economics and all this. So I'm suspicious and remain so. Of course, my skepticism means nothing. I mean, it's just like, what's my favorite comic book or sports team? My views have no importance in the long run. But insofar as I have suspicions, I am very skeptical about it.
Okay, so I have a question, because we did let's go back a little bit, because we talked a little bit about Trump's old opinions. Does it bother you at all that he was such a liberal, 10, 15, 20 years ago, when he really was a New York Democrat that said anything that he needed to say to get on the side of, Bill and Hillary and the New York liberal elite? Does that bother you at all, that he was so tight with them and now he's completely distancing himself from that?
No, because as he explains, he was a wheeler and dealer and sucked up to anybody he had to, and he freely admits it, and he says he's broken with that and is now going to go after the people that are doing what he did in the government. To me, that there's no problem with that. I mean, if he really was a liberal still, which I gather is the implication here, why didn't he run for the Democratic nomination? It just seems insane to me to say that, yeah, he's got to be just fibbing about it and he's not really Republican. If he's lying about it, I have no reason to think so.
Okay,
Ronald Reagan
you said a few minutes ago,
change. People can't change.
Yeah,
totally.
I'm fine. Hillary used to be a Republican.
Used to be.
Yeah, she changed her views.
Yeah. So that doesn't really bother me much. But here's the thing: you did say a few minutes ago that you are pro-gay rights.
Right.
I've got two quotes here. Donald Trump, February of 2000, he said, "I think the institution of marriage should be between one man and one woman." And on Fox News on April 14, 2011, he said, "I'm flat out against gay marriage." So how could you vote for someone and put someone up who is not in favor of equality for all people to be married?
Well, that was Obama's view until a couple of years ago, right? And nobody gave him any trouble about it.
Actually, they gave him lots of trouble. No, I mean that's just wrong, Robert. A lot of people gave him a lot of people gave him trouble about it. A lot of people said,
"Oh, well, okay, I'm mistaken." But my point was he changed his mind or pretended to. I mean, my guess is he had always been in favor of it, and I'm assuming that Trump did too. But I don't know what he could do about it if he really was against it. He's certainly come out in defense of LGBTQ and all that stuff, and I have to assume that's correct. I don't think that Hillary is liable to do him any real favors. And to me, that the issue of gay marriage versus civil unions, I don't lose any sleep over it. I'm for gay marriage, but to me, that's not a huge issue.
Well, the reason it's an issue for me, the main reason this is such an issue is because the next president is going to be appointing Supreme Court justices. And
if that were the only consideration, that would be enough to vote against Hillary.
Why do you say that?
Because the way the stacked deck of the Supreme Court now it rules on issues, it's going to be Earl Warren all over again. I think that these people are really unraveling the social fabric with, for instance, with their support of the Black Lives Matter movement and other, or the way of victims' rights are nothing compared to criminals' rights, and letting people go out of the illegal alien rapists and so on. You're just going to see more of that in the name of blind liberal sentimentality. And I don't want to see a Supreme Court that will take that approach. I'm no longer religious, but I think that the kind of approach that Freedom from Religion Foundation and ACLU take, it tends toward the limitation of freedom of religion.
I don't know why I don't know how. I'm blown away. You say that you're not religious. I understand you're an atheist, but it sounds like conservatism is your new religion, Robert. I've got to tell you, you are so deep into this. I'm just blown away. Anything Donald Trump says.
Do you think I'm stupid? I mean, do you think I'm like an idiot savant and that?
No, not at all. That's why I find this conversation so interesting. But I'm telling you things that are blatantly wrong about what Donald Trump says, and you're very, very good. Look. He wants.
What he doesn't. He was against gay marriage. As I say, to me, that's not a burning issue.
No. Let's just go down the list here. He said he's going to get rid of gun-free zones at schools. Do you support that?
Well, the reason for that is there's no defense if these lunatics barge in shooting.
There's no evidence supporting that the more guns you have, the safer people are.
Just use common sense. If somebody has a gun and can shoot the assassin down as soon as he sees him, that's going to save lives.
Right.
Whereas if you say gun-free zone, we're all sitting ducks. Come on and get us. I mean, isn't that obvious?
No, it's not obvious because the statistics show, and again, being a scholar, I would think you would care about data. The statistics absolutely show that the more you are around guns, the higher the likelihood of you dying by those guns. Now, Robert, let me just stop and tell you, I'm a gun owner. I have a concealed carry permit. I carry a weapon. I leave it in my vehicle when I enter gun-free zones. I obey the law. There are some places like
the marauders and the assassins don't.
Yeah, I understand, but I also understand that this concept that the only thing that'll stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun is false. It is a false sense of security.
I can't believe you're saying that.
Look. If I'm in a theater, a dark theater, and a guy comes in and starts shooting, and I have my gun on me. You think me firing more bullets into a dark theater is going to result in more people living?
If you have a good shot and a line of sight, which you probably have if the guy's firing, I wish they'd have had one in Aurora in that theater.
Okay, so I keep it on me as a last resort to protect me and my family, but not to have a Wild West shootout in the middle of an AMC. But do you also agree with...
Let's just let this guy kill them all.
No, I don't agree with that either. I don't agree with that either. No, I don't necessarily agree with that either. But look, do you also think we should defund Planned Parenthood? Trump wants to do that.
Not a bad idea. There are other alternatives to doing what they legitimately do, but apparently they're abortion mills, and they were started to control the black population and to eliminate it, and most of their offices are in black neighborhoods now. I don't think they're a wholesome endeavor. I think other groups and approaches could do the good stuff they do, but it's obviously just an abortion mill.
Okay. So can I ask, you touched a little bit on the social degradation of the U.S. and Western civilization. Could you expand on that a little bit? I mean, what specifically do you think is the biggest ill outside of just religion?
Well, I'm not sure religion is that much of a problem. I mean, I think it's a kind of a self-induced hoax, but I don't know that that's making a lot of trouble in society. The fact that common pew potatoes believe in things I don't buy, but this defense of police killings and so on, this obvious attempt to make it look like that the police as a whole have a war on young African American men, that seems absurd to me. And here they have members of that group who formed around lies about this guy getting killed in starts with an F, whatever it is, Ferguson. It just seems to me like this group is just a bunch of anarchists, really. Any time you start talking about the police as the bad guys, you're beginning to erode civilization. You're asking for vigilantism to fill the vacuum.
But again, that is to deny statistics. If blacks are being killed at a much alarmingly higher rate than whites...
Well, why is that? Isn't it because there are a few nut police that have made indefensible killings of innocent people, but to say that's the way it is with cops and all that, the real issue is why is there disproportionately more violent crime committed by African American youth? It's not racist to recognize that fact. It's racist to say, well, that can't be a fact because everybody's the same, and so crime statistics must
Robert,
be evenly distributed through all groups. No, you got to look at the economic issues that cause this.
Right.
I mean, to think it's racist is ludicrous. Obviously, they're one race or whatever ethnicity
but
is
Robert,
not
but Robert,
more
the very
crime
fact
inclined than another.
But the very fact that there are fewer opportunities available to those young black men in this country because of institutionalized racism, because of gentrification,
yes, that's
because of the gentrification
tackle.
of neighborhoods and the informal segregation of these black communities, the fact that there's not a grocery store within 14 miles of the projects, there are lots of reasons why those things, why those areas have higher crime rates. But
that's
look,
just what I said. Like, I think that I don't know if things have
but that's still racism, though. But that's still racism. That's institutionalized racism.
I'm not denying that. I'm talking about blaming the police and being soft on people that say kill more police, like somebody spray painted on some big overpass just the other day. Saw online. That's the problem. There is institutional racism. I think in Charles V. Hamilton and Stokely Carmichael's book Black Power, written decades ago, I'm sure most of it is still true in the sociological analysis that ghettos are like colonies within the United States, and that it's very difficult to get any opportunity. That's where it needs to. That's a much more difficult issue, and that's what needs to be tackled, rather than just making believe that all these killings by police are unprovoked, and that the police are a bunch of murderers and a racist Gestapo. That's not true, and the other is. So let's tackle the real issue.
But Robert, you know there are videos out there of a guy just running from a cop, and he gets
Didn't I just say that there are a few of these nuts, but the lack of the police as a whole with that is ridiculous.
No,
I just said that there are
right.
nuts who do this. But I'm saying that it's absurd to
You're going to make me join Black Lives Matter at this point. Okay, look.
Well, okay, if my views are that laughable, let's conclude this right now.
Oh no, I was laughing.
No,
I was laughing at David. I'm sorry.
No, did he just hang up?
He just hung up.
Wow. He heard you laughing and he hung up on me.
Yeah. Can we call him back and I'll explain to him? I was trying.
I'm going to get him back on the line.